We did not know the terminology of PTSD then. It was just he's behaving, he's having these flashbacks, he's having this really odd behavior, giving him anxiety, and he's tormented. So he's behaving. So, I mean, our children at this time were little. They were 4, 2, and a baby. So.
Yeah, I mean, I ended up going to the VA, for psychiatric care. The Veterans Administration as a former Marine, I went to them for help to try to figure out what's going on with my mind. And, they diagnosed me with bipolar 2, ultra-rapid cycler, and put me on a lot of meds. There wasn't any help or hope beyond that. I was just spinning, suicidal, homicidal. On the medications, I was suicidal and probably more homicidal because of my background and this pent-up anger toward injustice that I couldn't. Why did this happen to me? In the area of post-traumatic stress disorder, it's something that people can get better from and people can get help from. We know people that have completely been healed, struggle no more. Depends on the severity, the length, or whatnot. But I'll tell you, the main thing is people must take control of their thoughts. And people with severe PTSD have intrusive thoughts. Me, I suffered from Tourette's, trauma-based Tourette's, where a thought would hit my mind and I would say something or physically have a physical movement that I couldn't stop. I didn't have time to take it captive. It was an instantaneous reaction. Instead of responding to a thought, there's 2 types. So we recommend, and on our film, Triggered, we show the different modalities that will help a person with intrusive thoughts, with hypervigilance, with suicidal thoughts, with addictive behaviors, because these are all natural responses to something they encountered very unnatural. I remember calling a friend of mine, a colleague, he's on board, and we were in Iraq together. He was in CAG or Delta, 1,000 missions, and I remember calling him one day when I was having a hard time. I had just got out of Iraq, very tough missions, and I said, do you remember the day you didn't feel like you were part of society anymore? He said, I remember the exact day. Yes, I do. I said, okay, that's my day, because I don't fit anymore. I've seen too much. I've seen too much evil. I've seen too much killing. I've held too many people dying, and I can't make sense out of it. And he said this, do you feel like you're in a tornado right now, spinning? I said, yes, my mind does. He goes, are you on a bull? I go, yeah. It was the best advice I could get from another fellow brother, a warrior that I respected, who said, Victor, you can't stop the temporary craziness. Ride it out. Latch onto it and just go with it, because it will stop. It's like surfing. You get hit by a big wave, you cannot fight the force of the wave. You can only pray and relax, and then you'll pop up. And when these moments of intensity comes, you cry out to God, just like Peter was sinking in the water. He had faith. He was doing great. But boy, once he started singing, Lord, save me, and the Lord grabbed him. The Lord will always save us out of our most intense moment. But people just take captive the thoughts. There are scriptures that give us a roadmap to victory and have success in the middle of this mental turmoil. There's a couple I like. 2 Timothy 1:7 that says, God's not giving me a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. A sound mind. The other one is we're to take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ.
Currently, there's 22 veterans, military active veterans, taking their lives daily, and that's due to PTSD. So it's because I don't think they don't understand what's happening to them. We know that destroys not just the person, but the family members. The number one thing is to be able to express what you're dealing with, to share with other people that you're struggling.
There are great resources if people are willing to be honest with themselves, understand that your behavior tells on you, be willing to reach out. On our website, victormarx.com with an X, we actually produce 2 films. They're short films, and we have workbooks to go with them. One is for military or first responders. those who suffer from PTSD, and then for civilians. Because the net outcome of suicide or broken relations or addictions are all the same. But we explain in very simple terms and give real solutions on how do you feel better. First, what it is, and then different modalities and approaches to feeling better and getting better. And I'm living proof of that. Even though most of my trauma was a child, I remember a helicopter went down when I was in the Marine Corps, and I had just got off of it. So I should have died. You live with that guilt. 9 times in Iraq in the last 4 years, losing people, someone especially that I really cared for in a combative situation, being shot at, being mortared because of ISIS, trying to help people, and you see the devastation of children who are shot running towards you, just trying to get away from ISIS. Kids being shot in the back by the most wicked people, and what I call manifestations of evil. Guess what? It does mess with you. So there are a lot of very courageous people, and I would just say, don't look at suicide. It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Mm-hmm. You may not feel good right now, but there are resources, and we invite them to come. We'll send them a free copy of our book, and they can watch the film online. But there are other resources that can help people in their need right now to stop, as my wife says, the hemorrhaging when you start to spiral out of control. Mm-hmm. What I'm thankful for is that we have a God that made us to heal. Mm-hmm. He is a great redeemer. He's a savior, but he redeems. Mm-hmm. And he understands the frailty of man. If he didn't, he wouldn't have cried at Lazarus' death. Knowing that he was going to raise him from the dead, he still understands that we're humans. And our capacity emotionally is limited, and we're affected by death, dying, destruction, and trauma. But part of our whole approach to healing is mind, body, and spirit. And God is able to heal the wounds, the deepest wounds of a man or woman's spirit, our soul that's been ravished by trauma. And if he couldn't, I wouldn't be here. There's no way I could be here. I do thank God for my military training, being in Iraq 9 times, doing the ISIS fighting in the last 4 years, for the work that we do. But when you need help and when you're spinning, oftentimes the first step is just to understand you're not alone, you're not crazy. I would tell her in my moments of angst, I'm not crazy, I'm not crazy. She'd always say, I know you're not crazy. You're not doing well right now, but you're not crazy. The reality is, if you can stay together and understand, don't take everything personal. Like I would say very mean things to her. And a few minutes later I would go, you didn't know this isn't even about you. She'd go, I know. It hurts, but I know. And she would pray for me, because there's a common enemy, and it's not each other. It's the person of Satan and his demonic forces that hates marriage, hates humanity, and does all he can to destroy that. And drugs and alcohol and stuff, that just complicates things, as does infidelity, where I would just say in a sex-soaked culture that's non-moral, and just in the U.S., I would tell men and women, do not let social media, the internet, porn, all that stuff get into your lives. It will destroy you. It makes everything harder. It doesn't make it easier. So we have boundaries, and I mean, just, I think men, and this is an uptick on women too, looking at pornography. Look here, that should not be an option. It is destructive. And I've called pornography the ISIS of America. And if men don't start seeing it as a formidable foe, it's going to destroy them. Mm-hmm. You'll lose intimacy, you can't. And I just spoke to 5,000 men last weekend and made this statement. And I said, I think we've given, as Christians, I'm talking from a Christian perspective, we've given pornography far too much time. We've made it an idol. The reality is it's a Goliath, and God calls men to be Davids, to leave the crowd of men who are stuck and afraid and in bondage and run to it with a sling and cut its head off. And you know what? I think if men acted like that more, porn would lose its power over their lives.
We have a ministry that started 16 years ago, originally to help and reach our nation's incarcerated youth across the nation. At that time, there were over 2,200 lockup facilities. What we found, a common thread for so many of these children and youth, was trauma.
Yeah.
High-risk behavior because they're acting out. It made perfect sense to us. So today, because of the trauma that we've experienced and walked through, we are now in the Middle East because we were invited by the Kurdistan government back in 2015 when ISIS went through the villages. They were taking Yazidis and other people that did not believe the way they did. And many hundreds, if not thousands of young women were taken.
Yeah.
And these women who were now freed, but now because of the horrific things that ISIS did to them, they're free out of their capture. Many are taking their lives because they're remembering what was done to them. So they actually contacted us and said, would you please help us? We know you deal with trauma. So since 2015, we've been in the Iraqi region helping the young women and now the children who've suffered from ISIS.
Yeah, on a large scale, we've helped 32,000 kids in this period of time, plus women and families. We've actually been able to get persecuted Christians out of ISIS territory, away from the threat, out of the country, and develop trauma tools that help children sleep at night, because there's music in their own culture, and then prayers to God, scriptural prayers that bring them peace. So really, we bring hope and healing to children, women, even families who've suffered trauma. So she's one of the few dogs that actually face ISIS fighters nose to nose, and then children were playing with her in our home in Iraq. And we've actually built an orphanage, and we've had safe houses. So she's a great team member. It's where's John Michael? Watch.
God is love, and love comes from God. In 1 John, the Bible tells us that God is not only all-loving, but that He actually is love itself. The heart of the Parent Compass television show is to bring the transforming love of God to families everywhere. In every Parent Compass episode, true stories reveal family struggles and how their lives were radically changed by the love of God. Parent Compass, an award-winning television series, is completely funded by people like you. If you have been touched by God and you want to share God's love to others, would you please pass it on? Jesus tells us to go into all the world and to tell about Him. With your donation, you allow us to take this television show into many different nations and in many different languages, free of charge. And a portion of your donation goes to Parent Compass Outreach to feed starving children. Your gift does so much. To make your tax-deductible gift, go to parentcompass.tv/donate. That's parentcompass.tv/donate. And thank you for sending love and hope around the world.